Welcome back to the Quinexus podcast. I'm Chuck.
I'm Jack.
Today we're going to talk about ransomware and how ransomware is evolving. Normally when we think about ransomware, we think about files getting encrypted and you have to recover from a backup or pay the criminals to get your data back to get it unencrypted. But now we're seeing something else out there called the triple threat.
The triple threat of ransomware. If 2021 hasn't already been bad enough, ransomware and the way criminals are able to con and extort money from companies is expanding. As you mentioned, ransomware. Files get encrypted. You have two options. If you're fortunate enough, you've backed up your files, you recover your files, life is good. Option two, we pay the criminal, and because there is honor in this criminal market, we, most of the time, almost always get our files back. And I want to address that just for a moment. Chances are good, and we're going to do another podcast later on addressing this issue, that if you deal directly with a criminal, there's a good chance you'll get your data back. Because if you don't get your data back, that kind of takes this whole big scheme that they've built and causes it to collapse. People will not have faith in paying the money and getting their data back. What's the triple threat? We talked about the first threat, the encryption. The next threat, you've been hit with ransomware. If you decide not to pay, or you tell the criminal that you've got a backup, good for you, but the criminal is not going to be happy with that because their job is to extort money. So they will then threaten you. This is threat number two. They will then threaten you to release the data that you have out on the dark web, and they will sell your confidential data to whoever, which puts everything you have, possibly quite a bit, at risk out there. It also means that if they threaten to do this and they've been successful at doing this, you've been breached, which means they've stolen data. And depending on what state you live in, every state has different type of breach notification laws. The term breach has specific legal definitions in different states. But if you've been hit with ransomware and there's the belief that the criminals actually stole the data from you, that is called a breach. Threat number two, the criminals are looking to extort money and they're going to threaten you with that. If you say you're not worried about that and still don't pay, the triple threat number three is the criminals now threaten to attack your customer base.
So they use the data.
They use the data that they stole, they know who your customers are, and they threaten to go after your customers unless you pay. So that's going to create, obviously, tension between you, who lost the data, and your clients, and the issues that your clients now may be suffering because you lost the data.
This is different because now they're using the data instead of just stopping you from accessing your data. So now they're actually stealing it and using it to their benefit. How do we prevent this new triple threat?
This goes back to the basics, which I always talk about. We've got what we call the Q stack. If you look at some of our previous videos, we talk about the Q stack. The Q stack is a layered security model, which is what is required to effectively prevent cyber incidents from having a negative effect on your organization. Real quick, this is our Q stack, what we call a Q stack. It's really a security stack. And backups are still extremely important. Backups let you recover, but we put backups way down here at the bottom of the card. And not that it's not important, but what we want to do is stop the criminal from getting through all these other layers. And if we could prevent them from even getting to the data, we don't have to worry about the backup. We don't have to worry about being extorted. The stack includes things like firewalls, policies, controls, procedures, security awareness training. Your biggest threat is your biggest asset in a company, and that is people. People make mistakes. People click on things. Now more than ever, having your spidey sense, being aware of the environment and what you click on, and you might be tempted to click on, just don't do it. Take a breath, look at it, make sure it's really, really right. And if you don't think it's right, don't click on it. Stop. It's so important that, again, by clicking, we have to have all these controls, and all these controls have to be working in order to prevent the criminal from being able to get to your data, which is down here on the computer.
Thanks for joining us on another Quinexus podcast. like, comment, and subscribe wherever you're viewing this, and come back and see us next time.